Well, good morning. What an absolutely beautiful, scaly little carp, and what a great way to kick the morning off. Well, this particular fish, I guess, is the fruits of my labour from yesterday afternoon and evening. So what I'm going to do, I don't really want to keep this fish out on the bank for too long, so I'm going to get a slip back and then we can talk through everything that led up to the capture. Catch you in a bit. Welcome to my swim of choice. What an absolutely glorious morning it is. End of July, it's red hot, and yeah, I'm kind of happy with my swim choice as it happens. After much deliberation yesterday evening, walking around, driving around in the van, trying to find fish, I kind of went with the option of a swim that gave me a few different options. A couple of good margins, there's a couple of spots I know either side, so there was a few opportunities there, but also there's a great open water area as well, which I have fished several times before. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and grab the leading rod and the marker rod and actually go through all of the steps to actually finding a spot, baiting it and catching a fish like I did this morning. So I'm going to crack on. Okay, well that's the first couple of casts. Not really found anything much but weed at the moment, so I'm going to have to continue the search. Just while I've got the kit out, or should I say the lead out, probably worth just going through a quick kit list here. So Trakker 13-foot propel spot and marker rod, absolutely perfect for this kind of work. Emblem spod reel, 20-pound spod and marker braid, and I've gone with a 50-pound Apex leader. I do like to have a weighty leader. And just down to a marker lead, which I think is either probably 3 or 3.5 ounces, which is perfect for the ranges that we're probably going to be looking at here. I would anticipate probably between maybe 70 and 90 yards in this particular swim. So I'm going to continue having a little lead about, see if I can find something that takes my interest. So let's get it back out there. Okay, well I think we're moving a little bit closer now to actually finding a fishable spot. I've clipped up now and I've probably had about 5 or 6 casts. I've identified a far bank marker, probably the biggest tree on the horizon, so that's kind of useful. So I've got something to aim at, and basically I've been going middle, left and right, just to sort of establish how big the spot is. Now something else that I do, which I found has really helped, sometimes even when you're using obviously a spot and marker rod like this with braid, sometimes you can actually on the clip drop it in and you get a good drop, but it's only then when you actually pull the line back that you can be dropping through weed or filamentous algae or silkweed. So what I like to do, cast out and then literally wrap the braid round my finger, and because I'm not actually using the rod, I just walk back and you feel every single little thing out there. Literally you can feel the lead going over stones if you hit any silt or you hit a bar, because you've got a direct contact with the braid. So it's something that really is worth giving a go, and something I'm going to do right now. Okay, all is good. Yeah, I'm liking that out there. It's fairly soft, seems to be weed free, and I can feel the little bumps of what feel like pebbles or possibly even mussels on the bottom. As I mentioned, yeah, I'm happy with the spot. Next thing, I've got the distance sticks in position. I need to wrap this rod out and just see what distance I've actually been casting the lead and where that area is, and then I can bring the marker rod into play. Also wrap it out to the same distance, put that one out, and then I can start casting around the float. Probably one important point, I do need a depth reference. You know, should I maybe fish zigs or something later on, I just need to know how deep that spot is. So let's get this rod wrapped out and get the other one back in play. Okay, well that's the lead rod measured out, just over 23.5 wraps, so I've done exactly the same with the marker rod. I'm going to cast it out, get a depth reference, and then once the float's in position, I can start then casting around. Just have probably a few more casts just around the float, and then it really does come to a bit of bait application. Right, I'm going to crack on. The float's out in position. We've got just shy of 19 feet, so it's quite a deep area. Possibly some fragments of weed, but nothing like it is on the slopes or the shallower areas. It's, you know, for me, that is a nice clean spot which I can bait and fish effectively. I'm literally going to have probably another 2 or 3 casts just around the area, and what I'm finding is to the left of the float just feels slightly firmer and slightly cleaner. So I'll put this back out and just talk you through it as I'm doing it. So what I tend to do, probably with most of my casts, I'm just probably about a foot less than the spigot in terms of the drop. I feel it gives sort of enough control. So let's get this out there. I'll aim to the left of the float. And that's perfect. So what I'll do, literally hit the clip and just feel it down. Yeah, dock. Just see the tip go. What I try and do, I try and replicate my end position with the rod every time, because obviously I've got a fixed length of line, and I'll also do the same obviously when I put my fishing rods out later on. It's always trying to replicate just to keep the accuracy. So the drop on that was lovely, and even just pulling it through now, I think it's soft sort of wispy silt. Maybe if we've got an underwater camera we could we could have a look, but no, I'm happy with the spot. That's enough cast now. Next thing, get this reeled in, put the spom on and start getting some bait out. Okay, spom's attached, just looped it on, replaced the marker lead, and I've actually re-wrapped the rod. Slightly shorter of the previous clip, but I'll explain why in a minute when we actually come to put some bait out. So yeah, bait, that's the next step. Let's go and make a mix up. Back in a bit. Here we go. It's time to get creative. The bait mix time, certainly something I really enjoy doing, and it's where you can really kind of put your own spin and personalize your mix. One thing I will say, and obviously it does reference the bait items that I'm going to be using here, always consider what hook bait you're going to be using obviously with the mix that you're using. If it's just small items, then really you want to try and replicate your hook bait size to also be small. So in the mix that I'm going to put together here, there really are different size food particles. So some of the prep I actually started at the weekend, and that was basically chopping up some 15mm essential cell boilies and also putting in some 10mm of the same flavour, but actually mixing them in with hemp and chili flakes. So it just means that the baits can actually infuse all the natural oils, and yeah, that's the first ingredient. So I'm not going to go mad with this particular mix. I'm probably going to make up maybe half a bucket of this 13-litre bucket. So I'll start with sort of 2 or 3 scoops of the hemp and the boilies. Next up, I struggle to put any mix together without the addition of sweet corn. Carp just love it, and also there's a consistent theme going on here: yellow. So kilo of corn, that will go in. Certainly in this particular lake where the lake water is so clear, I just think the visual aid that yellow gives, it's just served me really well. So that's a kilo of corn in the mix. Next up, warm water conditions this time of year. We're at the end of July, just about to move into August. I struggle not to put pellets in my mix, so I've got a mix of essential cell response pellets and also some halibuts. Now the halibuts I put in, they're great for when browsing fish move over your spot after you've baited up, because let's just put a second scoop in. Yeah, what the halibuts do, obviously when they break down, it gives that oil and a flat spot, so it gives you a visual representation or a reference where the fish are actually feeding on your spot. So warm weather conditions like this time of year, love to put a mix of halibuts in. I think they're 4mm though, so 3 scoops of those. Just give it a quick mix now. I've got some spod and PVA pellet mix here as well, and now that's got Basically, there's all different shapes and sizes in there. So probably just one scoop of those, just because it gives a few smaller food items. And then I think I will just finish things off with some of this Power Particle Spawn mix. Again, just a few different sizes and shapes and different particles. Again, don't need to go mad. I'll probably just top that up so we're approaching half a bucket. So that's all the main ingredients. You'll take a closer look in a minute and I think you'll agree this mix is rather nice. Aha, one last thing. 1 scoop of the older stick mix liquid. Essential cell flavour, keeps it all consistent. Don't need to go mad with that. Just a nice little dose over the top. And now it's time to get mixing. So yeah, that's it. Fairly simple mix. Tried and tested baits. And look at that, as colour goes. If I was a carp, I'd eat that. Right, let's get mixing. Okay, well that's the bait mix done. Spawn's ready, spod rod's ready. Probably should clarify, I did mention I've taken half a wrap off the spod rod. Reason for that, obviously I'm fishing in 18.5 foot. If I keep the spod at the same length, I'll be dropping behind the spot, obviously because of the arc of the lead as it falls through. So I've started with like half a wrap. I've kept the float out there for reference. So while I do this first round of baiting, I'll keep the float out there because I want to just make sure, is the spawn landing? It should be just behind the float, and obviously I can just tweak things by where I let it hit the clip, and you've got that visual representation. Obviously if the float is out there, you can see where the spawn is landing. So anyway, enough talk, let's get baited. Okay, well, rig mechanics session in full effect. I'll just quickly talk you through the first rig which I've put together here. This is for the baited spot. 12mm essential cell wafter, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Probably 5 inches of coated braid, couple of sinkers, little anti-tangle sleeve, and those of you that have seen any of my video work before, you know I do love a lead clip and a 4-ounce lead. And then just finished off with a bit of dark matter tubing. So yeah, that's the rig. It's fairly standard for a lot of the ways that I like to fish. And this 12mm hook bait, literally, it just kind of sits over the hook. So the hook is actually on the lake bed, and then the hook bait just sits over the top. So that's rig option 1 for the baited spot. So we'll get that one fizzed out there in a minute. The other option, another old favourite of mine. Yeah, the old solid bag. Again, you just can't beat them for this kind of fishing. I like to have sort of 2 options for fishing over a baited area. Sometimes you do actually you'll get a quicker bite on a solid bag. I just think that concentration of food, it just brings the fish in quicker. So that's got a mix of spod and PVA pellet. There's a few little halibut pellets in there as well, and I've actually crumbed up some essential cell boilies which have been air dried, and also a few of the new link boilies as well, just to give it different bit of flavour, different bit of colour. And that's also been finished off with a 12mm wafting hook bait. Hook wise, I probably should have said actually on the previous rig, I've gone for size 5 on the lead clip rigs and size 6 with the solid bag rigs, just to keep them nice and compact. And literally I've gone for probably, I'd say probably that again in terms of the hook link length for the solid bags. 2.5 ounce square pair, just on a little bit of lead core, so I could just loop them on and bash them out onto the spot. So yeah, we're ready to rock. We have rigs. Let's give them a go. Spot's been found, the bait's been put out, and now it's just a case of getting the second rod out on the spot. I've already put one out, and I think I'm just going to alternate between the solid bags and the hook bait rigs, probably over the course of this afternoon into this evening, and just see if we can get a bite. Naturally, if I do get a bite, you'll be seeing me shortly. If not, I'll be seeing you next time. Catch you later.